Today, Bryce, you're joining me to kind of give us a little bit of an update on what you've been working on over at Bridge Detroit. And one of the things that I thought we could start with was where we are with the BLM, the Black Lives Matter, and the Detroit Police Department. There's a lawsuit going on. So if you could just real quick bring us up to speed on what happened, how we got to this point, and where we're at now.
Yeah, so first, thanks for having me on, Will. It's always a pleasure. Back in 2020, after George Floyd was killed by a Minneapolis police officer, Detroit was one of the cities, like many across the country and across the globe, actually, that protested the way police treat people, particularly Black people. So in Detroit, there were a series of protests and different groups that came together to talk about the way the Detroit Police Department treats people. And one of those groups that was the most prominent of the groups really was Detroit Will Breathe, started by two Detroiters. They protested for over 100 straight days in 2020. And during those protests, police officers, Detroit police officers, I should specify, were pretty terrible to them. According to videos and court documents, they were pepper sprayed. They were hit with rubber bullets. They were beaten, all sorts of terrible things. And a lot of this was happening, with people's phones and cameras getting footage of the action. There's actually a photo of Nikia Wallace, who's one of the founders of Detroit Will Breathe, being placed in what is now an illegal chokehold. So the groups sued the city and the police department. And back in, I want to say it was June, the city actually made an offer to say, hey, we'll admit wrongdoing if we can kind of just resolve these cases now and not have officers take the stand and testify. So they officially gave that offer to the protest groups in July. The offer was over $1 million to Detroit Will Breathe and other plaintiffs, basically, who were all involved in these protests and who faced police brutality at the hands of Detroit police. And the protesters recently just accepted that offer.
Next up is the $57.6 million that the city of Detroit has to address the flooding issues in the city. So with this, where's the money coming from? What's it going to be used for? Just give us a little background on that.
We had what people were calling an 1,000-year flood. Basically, we got hit with so much rainwater in such a quick time that many areas of the city experienced just massive flooding. There's a famous photo of cars on the freeway and a kid kind of playing next to it, and it looks like cars are floating in a river. But lots of different parts of the city experienced flooding. Lots of Detroiters faced thousands and thousands of dollars of damage to their homes and their property. So obviously people want a resolution to that. So the city got $57.6 million from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development back, I believe, in March or April. And the whole idea was get Detroit this money to help them not only fix the issues that this flood caused, but also to figure out ways to prevent it from happening again.
Finally, something, I guess, a little more positive. They're doing work on the sewer systems. That's good. But one of the stories that you just recently wrote about was the fact that Detroit is going to be getting Michigan's first 3D printed home. So this to me is very exciting. Where's the home going? Who's behind the project?
The home is actually going to be going in the Island View neighborhood, southeast side of the city again, not all too far from Jefferson Chalmers. And right now, they are printing the walls inside of, they being Citizen Robotics.
Why Detroit, and what is the impact? What it's one 3D printed home, which is great, but what does that mean? Is there investment dollars coming behind it? Is it just a proof of concept? Is it the beginning of a larger neighborhood? Just give us more insight into that.
Yeah, so Tom Woodman, the executive director at Citizen Robotics, actually said that one of the reasons Detroit was one of the first cities he really wanted to build one of these homes in was because there is such a need for affordable housing in the city. but also there's a lot of vacant land. I think
Mm.
there's something like 19 square miles of vacant land in the city. So obviously, when you combine that stat with the fact that our city is doing more and more housing demolitions by the day, there's the need for homes and a need for homes that can be built and sustained over a long period of time that are affordable and energy efficient. So that's kind of what this pilot house really is about. It's about figuring out, all right, this is a new way to build homes. Is it sustainable? Is it really going to be cheaper in the long run than conventional construction? Is it going to be more energy efficient in the long term? What sorts of home repair projects would have to go into these style of homes as opposed to the more traditional housing stock in the city? So those are all
Mm.
things that are being figured out right now.